Okay.
Uh, no, it just says that you're doing it.
Okay. All
Mhm.
right. So today I am here with Officer Gutierrez, and
Hello.
she's going to be sharing some special stories with you about her journey in life and where it led her today. But I'm going to let you do the introduction. So, Officer Gutierrez, why don't you go ahead and just give yourself an introduction, let us know who you are.
Okay. So I'm Melanie, but you can call me Officer Gutierrez. So I'm newly fresh-ish to CPD, but I do have a lot of family in law enforcement, especially within the city. So I kind of grew up around it. But yeah, it's been so far, it's been something that I've always loved. And right now I'm currently pregnant, so I am at home, but I'm living both of the best lives. I have my dream career and I'm having a baby. So I'm the happiest ever.
That's amazing. That is so great. So, today we have some hard hitting topics that we're going to discuss with you.
Mhm.
And for our listeners, um, there may be some sensitive topics, but we're hoping to, and Officer Gutierrez will talk on this further, but we're hoping to bring awareness to maybe people who are struggling in silence or how you can
Mhm.
turn like pain into purpose with your story and maybe even become a police officer like Mal here,
Mhm.
and turn everything in full circle with your own personal story, whatever that may be. So I did have a ton of questions come through for you, which is really exciting. And some of the questions I had come through for you were from like detectives. So I had people ask, but I was surprised that so many officers actually inquired about asking you questions. And that actually was nice for me to see because it's like it
Yeah.
does speak volumes that people want to do better at their job and kind of understand how they can go about the situation. So the
Mhm.
situation in the story we're going to talk about is sexual assault. Um, so tell us briefly about, if you can sum it up even, um, about your sexual assault story.
Okay, so this happened to me well, I first started remembering when I was 5, and it was a family member. It was my biological father that was doing it. And so it started off really young. Um, it kind of ended I guess the sexual assault ended when I was like 9, 10 years old. But then he was in my life up until I was 16. And so sort of like the physical abuse, the mental abuse more, that was all like still taking place. But luckily I did put him away for a very long time. So he is currently not hurting anybody else. He hasn't been in my life or my family's life, and he's where he deserves to be. So.
Absolutely. And thank you for sharing that. And thank you for sharing like what you're going to be sharing through the rest of this, because I know it's
Mhm.
probably not easy. Or maybe it is. Maybe now it is easy for you to talk about. I'm not sure, but I'm hoping that people who are watching, if they are going through what you went through as a child, they will be able to like feel more comfortable with sharing their story.
Right.
So let's since you're a police officer, let's just start with
Mhm.
something a little bit more light. Did this story, this what happened to you? Did this influence you at all to become a police officer?
100%. This was it was actually, I should have brought it, but there's on one of these papers that obviously like the detectives do have to interview once you're in the hospital because you have to go through this whole procedure. And I didn't know such a long time ago when I was a kid, like a sentence that I wrote was, one day I wish to become a detective because I know how it feels to be the victim, to be the person that is going through everything. The world's falling apart. You feel like you're the only one. So I know how that feels like, but I also know how it feels like to be strong and to, move forward with it. And so I've always wanted to become an officer for that reason. That was the only thing. Like I feel like I could connect to a very big platform that's not talked about enough. But there's so many people going through it and they're struggling in silence. And that was my motive. I was like, I know I can help people. I was able to help people when I wasn't an officer, but now that I am, and so far I have been able to help a lot of people. And the patience that I have with it and the understanding that I have for them. And it's just, this is what I was meant to like to do to this day.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think no matter what we do as police officers, if we can relate to someone like on a
Mhm.
deeper level, it makes everything like easier, de-escalates the situation, and people
Yeah.
feel more heard in the moment, right? And they don't call the police because they're having a great day. They call the police
Mhm.
because they're having one of the worst days of their life. So
Right.
it's nice to have someone there that can actually understand or
Mhm.
sympathize with what they're going through. Okay, so we're gonna get into the deeper questions. So you did mention that you pursued charges. What did the process look and feel like? I'm sure that you could probably make your own entire podcast about it, but if you could briefly tell us what was that process for you? How old were you when you went through the process, and how long maybe did it take for you to put your abuser away?
Okay, so it started, so he was arrested in 2016. Um, so the plan was for always for me to come out with it. It was just a matter of when. It was very hard to deliver that to my family, and I just didn't know when it was going to happen. Just when I felt like it was right and I was ready, it was going to come out. So unfortunately, it did happen a little later than I would have liked for it to happen, but it was in 2016. They arrested him. He was here at Cook for a while, before trial even started. And then trial began in 2019, and it was a 3-day trial. Um, and I
Did you
think
go to
those
the
3 days,
trial?
did I go to the trial? Yeah, I had to testify.
Oh wow, okay.
I had to testify. Unfortunately, like some family members had to testify. It was really I didn't want them to do it. I'm like, let me handle everything. Like I'll say what I have to say. I'll go up on there. I just don't want to put my family through it. But unfortunately, like they had to. I worked with a lot of lawyers. The lawyer that I have right now, she's actually a Cook County judge, and she's like family now. So she's really important into my life, and everybody with like the sexual assault like group at Cook County. They're really understanding in 26th Street and all that. Like they all group together to be there just for one person. It's like it's not just one or two people. You literally have your own little army once your case is open. And I didn't expect that. I expected just to come out with my story, he gets arrested, and then I wait like a shit ton of time to have my moment where I can finally speak up and have him sit there in front of me and hear what I have to say. But no, you definitely have a lot of people behind you. And if you don't have family, if you don't have friends, but you came out with your story, there's people there that will literally guide you every step of the way. And I thought that was amazing. Victim witness is an amazing thing. That's something that I worked into before I became CPD. I did victim witness for a while for that reason. And so then 5 years passed. Those 5 years when he was at 26, it was very brief. You got to show up so the judge sees you. But if he has a yes or a no, because he was claiming he wasn't guilty, it was like less than like 2 minutes. And then they just put him in the back. And then you have another scheduled month. So I definitely went to 26th Street a lot, just for that. And then finally, we had hit a point where everybody was just tired. His lawyers were like, he's not making up his mind. So we just settled for trial. That's what he wanted. And I was like, okay. I mean, like, if you're going to put my family through this, you're going to put me through it, then I'm all up for it. Like, I'm going to put you away. That was my mindset. I was like, I'm going to go up there and I'm going to try to convince 12 jurors that what happened to me did happen to me, but I'm going to speak my mind and it's gonna go the way it's supposed to go, and that's what I did. I still to this day wonder how I did it because it was 3 days and it was exhausting by the end of it. But I was really tired, but it's like weight like completely dropped off my shoulders. And he was put away for 77 years. So he's in there the rest of his life. Yeah.
Wow. And you were how old when you went through this trial again?
So right now I'm 26. I was like 20, 21 when I went to trial. Yeah,
Wow,
so
I
so it
literally
took
have
a
the chills.
while.
Oh my
Hmm.
God. And you had to testify to his face, basically.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
So could the process have been better for you? Or it sounds like you had a really good experience.
I don't think, I think it went the way it was supposed to. Obviously, do I wish it would have not been like 5 years that it would have like
Yeah,
dragged on for us to get to that point? Of
yeah,
course, because I just wanted to start to heal officially, to like close that chapter and it happened. But and I know I'm gonna revisit it a couple of times because I'm just human and things are gonna trigger me, things are gonna set me back a day or two, and that's normal. But I just officially wanted to just lock that door and
yeah.
just have that put away. But no, I think the way it went was amazing. And like I said, there is a big group of people with victim witness that helps you. Your lawyers, like I said, I got really close to my lawyer. She's like family now. And she's an amazing judge right now and she's putting away people like him almost every day. And to me, I'm like, that's an amazing job.
That's
Like I
amazing.
would love to, yeah.
Because I feel like people wouldn't know, like I didn't know, that you
Mhm.
have like a whole team around you kind of like rallying for you. And maybe if
Yeah.
someone's watching this or hears this, they'll feel more open that they have like, because some people, it sounds like you had your family with you, which is amazing. But it's
Mhm.
from what I've research, it sounds like some people aren't believed, and we'll talk about it, but some people aren't believed or don't have support. So now that if they watch this, they'll know that they have some support when they
Yeah.
do have the courage to speak up, and they'll have like a team around them to help.
Mhm.
When you first were reporting this, did you have like a female officer um, come, or how did that work? And did you feel uncomfortable with male officers, or how did they approach this with you, if you remember?
So, okay, so I do remember, so it wasn't my first initial, like I wasn't the person who called the cops.
Okay.
I had a friend back then, I think her mother, her grandmother, she was a retired CPD officer. And so she confided in her and was like, you know what, so and so is going through it. This is what happened. So she ended up calling the hotline. And then I had DCFS and a detective show up to my door like the same day.
Wow.
And whether or not, it is if it was true or if it wasn't, they have to obviously go through the case. They have to see it through, close it. So I was interviewed that night. He was actually here too, because I had not came out with it yet. So my life in that moment flipped so quickly.
My God.
I didn't know that I had no idea that was gonna happen. My mom, everybody's life flipped. My brother was here, like they pulled my grandparents, they pulled my brother, my mother. We got split up in this house and everybody was being interviewed. So, and then the more people came, they like ended up calling another squad car just to keep us separated. And so with me, I've always had a game plan. Um, Sort of like, I guess I've always been on survival mode since I was really young. And so this was like, I had activated it and I was like, I don't want to share my story right then and there, just because I love my mother and she's an amazing woman. But has, my mom will do what she has to do when she knows that her kid has been, just hurt in any way. So
Yeah.
I knew I didn't want to escalate it and I wanted him to get in trouble, not her.
Yeah.
So once everybody left, the next day I had to go to children's hospital because I had to do a rape kit. And I already knew my game plan from there. I was going to tell everybody there. Um, and beforehand, I know my mom. I know she was the first thing she was going to do is look for her keys, look for the elevator, and drive off and do whatever she was planning on
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah.
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 So I ended up saying what I wanted to say. I came out with my story. It was my grandmother, my brother, and my mother. And before I said anything, there's usually where there was security. I don't know if there still is, but there was security at Children's at that time. And so I was like, blocked the elevator and blocked the staircase. I took my mom's keys. I took her phone in advance. Because what did she do? As soon as I said it, she looked for her phone, she looked for her keys, then she went to the exit. I'm like, I already knew what was going to happen. So from there, that's when the detective, I had a female detective, and then I had somebody that was a male from DCFS show up. And I was completely comfortable with them. I was never like, oh, just because he's a man, he's gonna do something to me. No, I was always like, just because he was a fuck up doesn't mean the rest are.
Yeah.
So I never wanted to judge anybody like that. Um, so they treated me amazing. They ended
Yeah.
up showing up at the hospital that same like 20 minutes after. And all I remember is being interviewed by so many doctors, so many therapists, everybody came to see me. My room was on lockdown, like CPD was outside my room. My mom was in a whole different room. It was like, honestly, it was like straight out of a movie, but I was so numb and I was so out of it because all those years of me just keeping it a secret, it all came out in like seconds. So I felt very comfortable. Doctors, they were all males and they all had to do the test. And again,
Yeah.
it was just, I didn't want to judge because of one. And
Yeah.
so I let it happen. I was okay with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I have chills all over my body. I can't even imagine. And I can't even imagine like your mom, because my mom would do the same thing. I don't even
Yeah.
know what my mom would do. Uh, so after everything was said and done,
Mhm.
and you pursued charges and everything, um, and it's been some time,
Mhm.
you feel comfortable and secure in your decision. And how does your family feel about your decision? Like, who was there anyone that, and don't say their names, but were there people that like didn't believe you or stand by you, or were you mostly supported?
There was people. It's not more so of my like my mom's side. It was all his side. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's like it was like a mix of his side. It was yeah, I believe that he would do that. And then it was a no, he would never do it. It was a constant like within that own family.
Yeah.
Um, so I did have them, but all I really cared for was the family, obviously, that has always been supporting me and that took care of me. So
Right. Right.
mhm.
That's good. Um, so how how has that, and you've kind of touched on a little bit, but how has your story and what happened to you shaped the woman you are today and the police officer that you are today?
So I've had a couple of calls where we have somebody in the hospital that claims this or a possible this or that something to do with sexual abuse, something to do with sexual assault. I've always, if every time I heard it on the radio, I'd ask my partner, I'm like, can we take it? And he'd be like, you want it? And I'm like, yeah, I want it. And so we'd go over the air and be like, yeah, tell so and so, it's okay, we're gonna take it. And so it
Yeah.
ended up being our call, just because and my partners saw it. They saw how easy it was for me to, because obviously you need the details to ask those questions to, like, before I come in, I knock. And before I step in, even, I'm like, is it okay if I come in? Is it okay if my partner's here? If not, I can stay in here. He can be outside or she can be outside. Like stuff that even they wouldn't even think of asking. I asked it and I did it. And so they said that they've been on the job many more years than I've had. And they say that they've been learning just in that small instant how to deal even with a regular person, just to make them feel comfortable. And so I love that. That's my whole purpose of me talking about it, for me to share my experience, because yes, you can be a very big value for people who have been through that stress, have been through that traumatic experience, but just people who are just going through it. It doesn't matter what the call is for. You need patience. You need to have an understanding that they're not okay, you are, but they're not. So I feel like my experiences have helped me with that. Um, and I don't know, it's like I have a special ability to connect to a lot of people. And sometimes, don't get me wrong, I do need to step out for like a minute or two, just when it hits home and it's something very similar to what I've been through. If I see a kid who's gone through the same thing, I step out and I need to breathe, but I'm like, Mel, you did it. You know how it was. You need to wrap it all together. And I breathe. I cry sometimes too. I've cried like once or twice. Wipe away my tears, and then I'm like, I need to be there for her. And so I
Yeah.
step right out and I go and I finish the call and all that. So it's um it's hard some days, but I wouldn't have changed anything because I'm being able to touch people's hearts that not a lot of officers, and it's not their fault, you know. Everyone's learning every day how to approach people, but I'm able to help those people the exact way that I was treated, if not
Yeah.
even better.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like, even when you said, like, just the way you knock on the door or, like, just the way you
Mhm.
say, like, "Do you feel comfortable?" Like, those little
Yeah.
things, it's like what you've learned, like, it probably, not speaking for you, but it's probably like you revert for like to, like, that moment when it was you, and you
Mhm.
remember, like, how you were treated, and
Yeah.
you're able to, like, replicate that and do it for others, which makes it, like we said earlier, like, that's what makes a great officer, is like when you can relate to somebody and you can make them
Yeah.
feel good. So to
Mhm.
piggyback off that, where do you see your career going? Where do you want to take your career? Is this going to be part of your career? Or what are your hopes and dreams of as a police officer?
So I would love to be a detective. I want to take it as soon as I can. And I do want to do sex crimes. That's honestly what I would stick to the rest of my career if I could. But I
Mhm.
do want to keep climbing. I want to be able to take the sergeant exam. If I could be lieutenant, I want to do lieutenant. If I could get higher, I'm going to go higher. I feel like there's nothing anybody can't do. I've proven it to myself.
Absolutely.
I've shown myself that it doesn't matter how deep you are in a hole, you can get yourself out of it and you can do whatever you want to do. It's just going to be time, and you're going to have patience. But as long as you know what you want and that doesn't get changed because of fear, then it's all worth it.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to watch you climb the ladder.
Thank
I'll be here watching. Um,
you.
so what is your biggest takeaway from the incident? And if someone's watching, even if it's one person,
Mhm.
girl, boy, whoever, and they haven't spoke up, or they're afraid, what is the biggest piece of advice, I guess, that you would be willing to lend?
So I kind of think of it. I've asked myself too, like what would I have wanted to be told maybe early on,
Uh-huh.
you know, to maybe have persuade me, I guess, a little bit to come out a little earlier. I feel like there's the right words, but then there isn't, and it's very complicated to pick out a perfect way to explain it because it's like you're also not trying to force anybody to come out with it because it is a lot. But from what I've experienced, it's going to be very hard. I'm very straightforward with everybody, and that's how I've always been my whole life. Um, and I speak my truth, and if people don't like it, they don't like it. But I truly believe that it's gonna be hard, but man, you're not alone. Like, that's what I used to fear, is that I was alone and I was the weird person that got picked, and it's like something that I chose and it was my fault, and it was just because the way I dressed or the way that I was, like, Mel, you were a kid. Like, why
Yeah.
would you even it's just but those stuff crosses your mind. Those things cross your mind. And
Like
I
how
would
you
say
said,
that
like,
it's hard.
why me?
Mhm.
Like you got picked. Like the universe chose you, and it was your burden to bear. Because I did my
Yeah.
research, and I saw that a lot of people felt that way too. They're like, not like a why me, but more like a like it's I I got picked for
Mhm,
like almost like a reason. Like they feel like it's their fault,
mhm.
or maybe they brought it on to themselves or whatever, which is obviously completely untrue. But I literally have the chills. It's like for you to say that you're like it chose me,
Mhm.
right? But if they're watching and they see how far you've taken this and how you've turned it completely around, maybe it's okay that it chose you, because now you're able to turn that pain into purpose and make
Mhm.
it something so much different for yourself. So it doesn't have to be like a bad defining story. It could be the reason that you become who you are and help who you are
Yeah,
and change the course of your entire life. But it's like you said, it's not easy. And
right.
also like you said, it took years and years to like get to the place that you are today. And it's not going to end,
Mhm.
and like you said, even probably after this interview, it's probably gonna take you like a deep breath after,
Mhm.
talking about it, because it's not easy, but you're
Yeah,
not alone. And there's so many people that are in the same situation as you. So maybe, but being able to speak to somebody or hear somebody, it might open their eyes that there's more people
yeah.
experiencing what they are experiencing.
No, no, yeah, it's something that's what I'm saying, it's such a, like, a complex thing that it's like there's not, like, a right thing to say, but
No,
no, but you're right, you can get through it, it's gonna take time, but time heals everything, let me tell you, it healed me, it helped me, and I never expected me to be so calm with the fact that I'm having a daughter too. So I think about how I'm going to be able to give her the life that thankfully, she's never going to have to live what I've gone through. I'm going to be able to live the life that I wanted and the life that I should have had. I'm going to be living it through her because I know her dad is amazing and I'm going to be living that experience through her. And that's the happiest like you can ever be. And I hear a lot of people tell me all the time that I don't think I could ever, be intimate with anybody. I don't think I could ever have a relationship with anybody after what I've gone through. And it's possible and it can happen because I have it all right now. So and I can't I can't nag, I can't ask for anything more. So
and I could see it like in your face, and that's like, again, now like you've had so many full circle moments in your life
Mhm.
at such a young age. And it's like, as someone that doesn't know you that well, like it's really cool to see and like inspiring to watch. Like I'm gonna cry. But I think that like you are such an inspiration, and like I'm so glad that we're even getting this chat. And so we'll keep going. But how
Thank
far along
you.
are you?
I'm almost 7 months.
Oh my god.
I
And you're
know.
having a girl.
It's gonna be a girl. I
Like,
know. Excited.
oh, so exciting. So, how does maternity leave work at your job?
Mhm. So, I thought they were gonna keep me at my district when I did come out that I was pregnant, but I know a few things changed ever since. There's been a few instances where there's been like shootings as soon as they walk in to the front door, so they don't want to have pregnant women without a vest in front, and so I get that. So they did send me to another location, and I was there for a while, but right now, unfortunately, I do have like a couple of medical things going on. I'm better, but I still have to stay home because of my pregnancy. But
Yeah,
maternity leave, what I know is that even your partner gets 3 months and you guys can like cash it in when the baby's here. Either she can take it, he can take it, whomever can take it first. And it is like 3 months. So I'm just waiting for that to happen. I think he's taking it after I go back to work so he can settle in here with her. But that's still up in the air as of right now.
okay. Well, Because I feel like some people forget that as women,
Hmm.
we can get pregnant or want to be pregnant and still be
Yeah.
police officers. There's a
Hmm.
lot more than just a road patrol police officer, which is the
Hmm.
hardest job anyways. But there's a lot of places and that you can go and things that you can do while you're still an active officer. So I feel like people think like, oh my God, how are you? There's no way you can be pregnant and be a police officer. You can.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I get that a lot.
yeah.
Mm.
um, would you be open if your daughter one day said, I want to be a police officer? Would you be open to her becoming a police officer?
I would. It's different for the grandparents. They're like, hell no.
Yeah. Yeah.
And her dad too. Her dad's like, well, we do it because he's also an officer. He's like, well, we do it. Why can't she do it? You know? And
Yeah.
but he did say he's like, maybe that'll change later on, you know. But as of right now, it's like the way I see it is why be hypocritical, you know? The
Yeah.
things if I'm doing it and I'm loving it, and it was like one of the things that I've always wanted to do, why am I gonna take that away from her, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, for
So
sure. No, I totally agree. And do you think that obviously what you went through on top of being an officer and
mhm.
everything that encompasses your life, do you think that that will it will no matter what, but do you think that there is a way that it will impact you as a mom differently? Is that I don't even know how to word the question. Like, do you feel like you are going to be maybe overprotective of your
Mhm.
daughter, or how do you feel it, do you get the question? I'm
Yeah, I get what you're
like,
saying.
because I didn't go through what you went through. So
Right.
there's triggers that you probably have or see or feel in
Mhm.
scenarios that I wouldn't notice.
Right.
So if I have a child, I probably there's things that I'll go play, do your thing, whatever. And there might be different things that you feel like when
Mhm.
your daughter's born.
I feel like I'm always gonna be 100 times more cautious or more protective than already a regularly like protective parent, just
Right.
because I do know the signs and the little ugh, that doesn't feel good, but
Mhm.
Imma see how it plans out, and if one more thing pops up, then I know what this is. Like, I already know how to spot stuff like that out, but I'm never gonna I don't also wanna hover over my girl. I don't, and, you know, and hopefully, like, I do have more kids. That's not what I wanna do. Just because, you know, I went through something, yes, I'm gonna be more cautious. Yes, I'm gonna be like, let's double think about this. Like, let's think about the outcome. Like, doesn't this feel weird? Like, things like that, you know, checking in, making sure I'm doing my part. I'm sorry, my dogs are crazy right now. Or doing my
Okay.
part as a parent,
Uh-huh.
but I'm never gonna hover them because then they're not gonna be able to live the life that just because I'm so scared about something that can happen and I didn't get to experience those things, I'm not going to take it away from them of just living like a basic like life, like
Yeah.
going out at like 16, 17 years old with your friends to the movie theater. In my mind, I could be like, yes, you're by yourself and there's people there that are probably not there to watch movies sometimes, you know, but I can't do that.
Yeah.
I need to let them live, but I'm always going to be there,
Yeah.
but I'm never gonna go anywhere. You know, I'll be there to activate mom mode, cop mode, or both. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna let them live their life. Just be right behind them.
Yeah. Growing
Yeah.
up, my dad was a cop. Um, and then I became an officer and
Mhm.
he was very supportive of it. And I don't feel like he was extra like a hovery parent at all.
Yeah.
But I do feel like for some reason I probably will be more. Maybe it's like a women's intuition thing.
Mhm.
But I totally respect like your view on it, and I think that it's great. Like I think you're going to be such an awesome mom and a fun mom too. um, so one more question I have for you. Um, now I lost it. Hold on. So okay, so you had actually mentioned, and it was one of the things I did want to ask you. Um, So I had a call once, not to get into it, but it was a kind of like you said, a parent of, um, so this will kind of relate to your assault story and the fact that you're becoming a new mom. So I
Mm,
went to a call once, and it was a parent of her son was like on a team, and another kid on the team was talking about what had happened to him.
right.
And the kid's friend's parent called us, and she kind of didn't know what to do, but she just felt like this information I can't keep. And
Mhm.
you kind of just said, talking about when it happened to you, it was your friend's parent that called,
Yeah.
and now you're going to be a mom. Now, what if your daughter came home and said, so and so saying this is happening to her, or something like that? So, for anyone listening, if it's not them, it's not their kid, but they know someone else is going through it, maybe, or
Mhm.
is hearing it from their child, what would be your advice for them? Because even for me as an officer, it is different because it is a third party reporting it, right?
Right.
So, what would your advice be? And it sounds like it changed the course of your life. Um, that even your friend's mom called.
Mhm.
So, what would be your advice for someone who maybe knows someone that's going through it and is afraid to say something because they don't want to out them, maybe? What would your take on that be?
So I mean, I that did cross my mind, when I was when it was all happening, I had a plan to come out with it a certain way. And I feel like back then it was like, oh, that was taken away from me for me to personally come out with it. But I wouldn't have asked for it any other way regardless of the fact, because it's somebody who did reach out and who was concerned.
Right.
And and I'm just saying what if, right? But like what if I never said anything? What if I did just keep it to myself? I don't know where my life would have been now. It probably would have been nowhere near how it is right now. It could have, I don't know. There's a lot of what ifs that could happen, but
Totally.
I feel like if there's a possibility of a child's getting abused, whomever is getting abused, it's very already hard to come out with it. I would always just report it. That's why there's a hotline. You can do it anonymously. You can have, put your information down, and one way or another, it's like something sometimes always pops up. So you end up finding out who the person was that called. But I just don't think that people shouldn't call and put in a tip that maybe it is something that's happening. Because I get it. People can talk and can make horrible rumors and spread secrets, just for being like a really crappy person, and can cross the line. But to me, it's like, I feel like nothing is as important if the person does get mad at you, that you did out them in a way. I do truly believe 100% that one day they're gonna be like, they did it for a good reason, and they did it because
Yes.
they love me and they care for me and they wanted me to be okay. So I would say report it. Like I said, you could do it anonymously. You could
Yeah.
put your name down. Um,
Because like you
but
talked
I would,
about earlier too, is like no matter what, DCFS has to like get involved,
yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So like even with my situation, like I, I took it very seriously, and I really respected like the caller. I was like,
Yeah.
wow, like because how do you just not say anything? It's kind of like what we say as officers, right? Like if you see something, say something, right? So it's kind of like that. Um, but
Mhm.
I love that you said like you can be anonymous, and like no matter what, like one day someone would thank you. And I think people forget that they could be anonymous, like an
Yeah.
anonymous reporter, which it could change again the course of your life. So I think, yeah, I totally think people forget that they can remain anonymous and still make
Yeah.
reports. Um, so that's good advice. So
Yeah.
appreciate
Yeah.
that.
No
Yeah.
problem.
So is there anything else before we end that you would
Mhm.
like to say? So I know that when we post this, I'm going to list like resources, and you could send me some too that people can
Uh-huh.
check out, maybe resources that you've personally used yourself for
Yeah.
anyone watching. But is there any last final takeaways that you would like to share with anyone listening today?
I think the one thing I do tell everybody that does ask me, or if I do end up going to a call and this and that, I always say it's worth speaking up. It's always worth speaking up. It's always worth talking about it because again, you have no idea how positive that can change your whole life. It's obviously going to flip it, but it's going to be all for the better, and you're going to get out of it, and you could have the life that you've always wanted. It doesn't have to be a dream. It could also be a reality. It just has to take its time.
Can that be my ringtone every time someone calls me? I love it. Well, thank you so much, and keep us posted on your pregnancy and your baby girl. She's really lucky to have a mom like you, and going through everything that you've been through. Like, your smile, like, you radiate, and like, I totally believe that your career as an officer is going to be like exactly how you want it. Like, and I think you're going to impact so many lives and do a lot more than just police work, right? I think that you have so much more to offer, and I'm really excited to watch you grow as an officer. And thank you so much for sharing like everything that you've shared today.
Mhm.
And to anyone who's listening, we will put resources in the bio for
Mhm.
you to contact, and just know that you're not alone. So
Yeah.
thank you
Yeah.
again.
Thank
I'm gonna
you.
thank you so much.